in your description of going from family office to independent sponsor one, independent sponsor two, there's a lot to unpack there. Can I just let's just cover some definitions if you don't mind. Like not everyone really knows what a family office is. It's slightly behind a veil, and not everyone really understands independent sponsors. And in fact, I find some people who say they're independent sponsors might describe themselves as very different from other people that describe. So let's just take a minute and kind of define it from your point of view. Would you mind explaining to us the family office that you worked at and what was sort of like their mission? Let's start there.
Sure. So they were focused on they were a strategy-focused private equity firm that anchored way more heavily on strategy and operational excellence relative to financial engineering. So they looked for deals where, call it like a manufacturing deal, where the sort of median or average EBITDA margin as a percentage of revenue is probably 12 to 15%. And they would find deals where a manufacturing company was doing 5% EBITDA margin, right? And so underperforming relative to the industry. And if they thought that that company was impacted by a bad strategy or poor operations, then they would be able to buy the business at a value price, institute a better strategy, tighten up the operations, hopefully get that business to median EBITDA margin, and then get the benefit of both sort of buying at a value price, selling at a market multiple or a cash flow multiple, but also improving from, say, a 5% EBITDA margin to a 12%, and sort of you get two bites at the apple there. That's where they focused. And you didn't ask, but a family office really, in the most general sense, is just a family that has enough money where there's a job inside of the family to invest the family's money. Now, you might find some other institutional definition. Typically what this is if one of the people in your acquisition, or when one of the people in your acquisition class sells their business, is doing $5 million EBITDA, right? And now they have $25 million bucks, and they're going to have to go invest $25 million. Arguably, if they had a child that was 22, or a kid, right, who's 22 coming out of college, does it make sense for that person to go work at Home Depot or Coca-Cola, or to go learn how to invest money? And so that next generation becomes a family office because managing the family asset becomes a job. And so loosely, that's a family office. And then you get them as big as like Rockefeller or Warren Buffett or those guys. And that's, of course, much bigger, but still, that started with somebody starting a company and creating enough assets where there was a job to invest in.
Perfect answer. And at the risk of running down a rabbit hole, I'm just going to ask for a quick answer on this because I'm curious, which I sort of feel like the emergence of the family office over the last 10 years has kind of been a result of, for lack of a better description, almost like decentralization of hedge funds. Like I feel like wealthy people have been like, well, wait a minute, I don't need a hedge fund manager. My kid can do it, to your point, right?
Yeah. As the returns come down on some of these asset classes from 15% on hedge funds and 25% on VC and PE to much lower, the like post-fee return to investors becomes less attractive than trying to figure it out yourself.
Yeah. So would you agree with that theory? I mean, you think it's almost like a hedge fund? Okay, interesting. Cool.
I mean, I think hedge funds are dealing with a lot of challenges because as data becomes more available, it's going to be tougher and tougher to get sort of differentiated, sustainable data that can beat the market. And arguably, all of these industries are getting more mature, right? So the margins in them, in the traditional sense, are going down. And so that's the other reason why this part of the market, to me, is so attractive, because there's more work to do. So like the spreadsheet only guy can't compete with the operator in $1 million EBITDA business. I don't have to worry about my spreadsheets all over the world guys competing with me in this part of the industry.